Welcome back to my channel. Today I bring to you a gripping true crime story from Nigeria that involved the wife of the former Central Bank of Nigeria governor, Godwin Emefiele. This happened many years ago, and many people do not know the full details of this really shocking case. Well, I am going to share them with you today. Kidnapped by soldiers. In September 2016, Margaret Emefiele was traveling along the Benin-Agbo Road in Edo State when a convoy was ambushed by armed men. It was gathered that 4 other women and a driver were kidnapped along with Mrs. Emefiele, and the abductors made contact with the family, demanding for a huge ransom. The kidnappers were led by Mohammed Yusuf, also known as Dogo. Margaret Emefiele is not just any high-profile individual. She is the wife of Godwin Emefiele, who served as the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria from 2014 to 2023. Godwin Emefiele, a seasoned banker and economist, played a significant role in Nigeria's financial sector, overseeing major economic policies and interventions. He was suspended by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on 9 June 2023. But back to our main story. The most shocking thing about the Margaret Emefiele kidnap case was that it included 2 active soldiers. 2 soldiers of the Nigerian army who were known as Musa Maidabara and Edwin George. There was also a dismissed soldier, Ernest Uduefe, involved. It was stated that the soldiers were recruited by Yusuf to escort him and other suspects away from the crime scene at Ugoneki village along the Benin-Asaba Expressway on September 28, 2016. The 2 soldiers were said to have, in their military uniforms, escorted the suspects and were later paid their share of the 80 million naira ransom received from the family of Margaret and other victims. However, the Nigerian police, particularly the Intelligence Response Team (IRT), led by Adbucted, quickly sprang into action once news of the kidnapping reached them. They were able to track the kidnappers down quickly and conducted a well-coordinated rescue operation. My people, if you think the Nigerian police is not effective, just wait till you see them handle a top-profile case and you will be shocked. Reports have it that the victims were released after a ransom was paid and the kidnappers were caught by the police afterwards. The police used a combination of intelligence gathering, surveillance, and technology to track the kidnappers. They also monitored communication and followed leads that eventually led them to the kidnappers' hideout. Let's talk about the kidnappers, specifically their leader. Muhammad Abubakar Yusuf, also known as Dogo, was a notorious criminal with a history of violent crimes. Dogo had been involved in several high-profile kidnappings and armed robberies across Nigeria. His criminal activities had made him a wanted man by law enforcement agencies. Well, let's delve a bit more into the life of this hard-hearted, terrible criminal. Dogo's story is one of a man who rose from obscurity to become one of the most feared criminals in the country, a leader of fierce bandits that led a trail of chaos and violence in their wake. His criminal career began in the bustling streets of northern Nigeria, where he quickly gained a reputation for his ruthlessness and cunning. His early exploits involved small-time thefts and local disputes, but it wasn't long before he set his sights on more lucrative and dangerous ventures. He was affiliated with Boko Haram, but it was more about opportunistic cooperation rather than a formal alliance. His primary focus remained on criminal activities for financial gain, and while he interacted with Boko Haram, he did not fully adopt their ideological stance. As Dogo climbed the ranks of the criminal underworld, he became the mastermind behind several high-profile kidnappings. His targets ranged from wealthy businessmen to government officials, and his demands were always steep. The fear of Dogo's retribution ensured that many paid the ransom without hesitation, and this further fueled his operations. Dogo's reign of terror wasn't limited to kidnappings. He orchestrated a series of armed robberies that were executed with military precision. Banks, armored vehicles, even police stations fell victim to his meticulously planned heists. His ability to, evade capture time and again earned him a near mythical status among both his followers and the law. Despite numerous manhunts and close encounters with the law, Dogo managed to stay one step ahead. He often disappeared into the dense forest and remote villages that served as his hideouts. His networks of informants and loyalists also provided him with the intelligence and support needed to maintain his freedom. One of the most infamous acts of Dogo was the kidnapping of Margaret Emefiele. The negotiations during Margaret Emefiele's kidnapping were intense and required a delicate balance between meeting the demands of the kidnappers and ensuring the safety of the hostages. While negotiations were ongoing though, a parallel rescue operation was planned. The authorities used the information gathered during the negotiations to pinpoint the location of the hostages. The rescue operation was then launched at a critical moment when the kidnappers were least expecting it, leading to the successful release of Margaret Emefiele and the other hostages. After his arrest in the Margaret Emefiele case, Dogo and his accomplices were charged with hostage-taking and other related offenses under the Terrorism Prevention Act. Dogo is currently serving a lengthy prison sentence. So, what happened to the soldiers involved? I hear you ask. Well, Musa Maidabara and Edwin George were court-martialed and dismissed from the army. They were handed over to the police for prosecution, and they were eventually convicted and are currently also serving prison sentences. Ernest Uduefe, the dismissed soldier, was also convicted and is serving a prison sentence. And for the victim, the distinguished Margaret Emefiele, after a traumatic experience, she has continued to live her life. Recently, she was involved in a legal battle with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), which declared her wanted for alleged financial crimes in affiliation with her husband. However, a federal high court in Lagos nullified the EFCC's order and directed that the agency issue a public apology and pay her damages. But that is another story for another day. This rescue of Margaret Emefiele is a testament to the effectiveness of the Nigerian police force in handling high-profile kidnappings and ensuring the safety of such victims. But do you know what the biggest learning is for me though? It is the fact that those in whose hands we entrust our safety can turn around to hunt us, as is with the case of Maidabara and George, who aided these unsavory bandits to carry out their crime. But the good thing is that they were apprehended, caught, and made to pay dearly for their crime. Well, that brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you for watching. If you found this true crime interesting, educating, and most of all, if it has taught you a thing or two about safety, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more interesting true crime stories from Nigeria and Africa as a whole. Until next time, stay safe.